I thought it was gonna play. I pushed the button and it did. I I'm literally pushing the. I'm like, hey, oh, that's the wrong one. Hey, it's okay. I've done this before. It's
Okay.
uh,
It,
it's
it
it's not
seems
the
like your
first time.
first time, but
It's
it's
uh,
fine.
it's the first time since 2023. I was so we're doing a podcast, right? And
Okay. Yeah,
where,
that's what this is.
where do I stick my 8 track? I need to. it's, it's obvious that I don't know what's going on today. I'm pushing the button that says background because our background image looks like what our normal image would be, and for the intro. So hey, we're back. Welcome back.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
Look, it is season 1, episode 11. So um
11?
yeah, yeah. At some point, I meant to talk to you about this, but we're gonna have to close out season 1. We can't do
Okay.
season 1, episode 150.
Who
So
said? Who
I,
make them rules?
I mean, we could do it. Why not? Season 1. They're like, when season 2 start?
Never.
Never. Why are we gonna do a second season? You only need one season of this kind of greatness.
You only get one life.
That's it. That's it. This instead of saying seasons, I'm gonna put life
Life.
one,
One.
episode 11. I'm gonna change that. That
Okay.
way, everybody knows that this is exactly what that is. See, I'm so good at what I do.
Hmm.
I can legitimately change it right now.
Right now.
So it says Life One, episode 11, right there in
Okay.
the corner. Life
Okay.
One, episode 11. That's it. You only get one life.
One life.
Yeah. I don't know
One
how many
life to
episodes.
live.
That's it. I don't
You
know how
remember
many
that song?
episodes you're
Does
gonna
that
get.
still come on? Does
I
that still
think
come?
it does. Don't be
Okay.
interrupting people's stories. You get in
Okay.
trouble. General Hospital come on at 3 o'clock.
That was my show. That's my grandma. That was my show.
You know what, dog? I remember that. I remember me and you having conversations about you and your love for General Hospital. I'm
That's
like,
just my grandmother loved it, and so I, that's what we watched. General Hospital. I Love Lucy. Price is Right. That was the setup.
dog, wasn't Price is Right? Like, look, Bob Barker, greatest game show host. Like every little kid, if you are within the age of whenever Bob Barker retired, and now you remember seeing him on Price is Right, you're like, that show was great.
It
Like
was.
you always wanted to play one of those games on there.
Yeah. I was ready.
Dog, Plinko. Oh, if I'd ever got a chance to play Plinko, dog.
I just said that today. My daughter, she slides down these stairs, belly up, feet first, and like a Plinko chip. So if I'm at the top, I hear blink, Plinko.
Plinko, it was like, woo, $10,000. Like I would be so. We gonna figure out. We're gonna talk to Drew Carey, and we're gonna get on that, and we'll get me and you on on Prices Right podcast host event on Prices Right. That's
I
what they.
would love it. I would love my grandmother would love it.
We would totally beat Joe Rogan. Look,
Yeah.
speaking of grandmothers, which is ironic because our topic tonight is spiritual journeys, and most of our spiritual journeys do start with our elders.
Our elders. Okay.
Yeah, and our grandparents. And I think this is a really cool topic as we were discussing this going into what we're going to do for the year. Um, it gave me a lot of time to really think about my spiritual journey and where it's gone and where it started from. And
They're having a spiritual journey of sorts right now in the
yeah,
family.
at some point, I don't know what's going on with this one dog, but he seems to be barking at everything. And I'm not quite sure what he's barking at. And that's the beauty of condenser microphones. You can hear my dogs barking.
Mhm.
But you know, uh, our elders start our spiritual journeys, and where we are right now, compared to where we probably began. I don't know for you, but for me, it's probably a long way from where I started from. But how do you feel about where you are spiritually from where you started from in your life?
I don't know if it's a long way. It's a different understanding for sure, because I wouldn't necessarily say consciously it started out spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my foundation is in religion,
Mm-hmm.
not spirituality. Because as kids, I don't know that we may know what it is, because I believe that as kids, as babies, I believe babies are the closest to God, to that, to the Creator. And as the older we get, the further we get until we find our way back to it.
I agree.
But I don't know if consciously, if we know how to properly communicate that that's spiritual, or what that is, what that
Mm-hmm.
means.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I would say my foundation, I would say where I am now is from the root and the foundation of where I started religiously.
Okay, so would you say where you are now aligns with where you started in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay, I would say no.
I,
Not for
I,
you, but for me, it does
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because well, why not for you? Well, okay, let's start this. Because do you believe spirituality and religion are the same, different? They go together?
100% different. I think spirituality and religion are totally different. I believe religion is 100% man-made and a bunch of horse pucky.
Okay.
I believe no horse pucky. When I say that, let me be real. I believe it's selfish desires of what created religion, because it's difference of what spirituality you're supposed to believe. So, but part of our journey that became co-mingled while at Xavier is why partially I believe this.
Okay.
And if you want me to go into that, I
Yeah, go
will.
ahead. Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
so when we went to Xavier, we had to take theology class,
Okay.
and we're at a Catholic university. There's
Correct.
nuns walking around like you're not supposed to walk on the grass because the Pope has blessed the grass at Xavier University of New Orleans.
Somebody told you that?
That's what somebody told me.
Okay.
I mean,
I never had that experience, but okay.
it's not like I cared.
I mean, not any of
Yeah,
those, not any.
yeah,
I mean, like you said, I saw the nuns and everything on
yeah,
camp, but I never had a real interaction
yeah,
with
yeah.
with one.
Now, not like I cared. I'm gonna walk wherever I want to walk. I don't care
Okay.
who blessed it.
Can you
You
please
know.
get off the grass?
Yeah, you gotta tell me, Stanley, to get off your grass because I'm walking. If I'm late for class, I'm trying to get in that thing. So we're in theology class, sitting down waiting. Of course, I mean, I'm expecting something theology. I'm Southern black man, come from a Methodist family, and in strolls the gayest dude I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And I'm like, Catholic University, giant gay dude coming to teach theology. What the hell is going on?
So right away, your mind, right away, you're challenged right
I'm
away.
challenged
You're
from
challenged
from
right
what
away.
I've been taught to
Correct.
believe about religion. I'm like,
Okay.
whoa,
Uh-huh.
okay. And then it hits me. I'm like, well, if all these nuns think that this is okay, then maybe I've been taught wrong. Let
Okay.
me hear what this young man has to say. And you know what? That taught me so much about religion, on why I don't believe in religion now, because religion made me feel that because this young man was chose to be homosexual, or his lifestyle was homosexual, that he would have nothing to say about religion that I could learn. And
Like
that was
he couldn't tell you
he
nothing.
couldn't tell me nothing, what I'm
Okay.
saying? Because everything that everybody told me was 100% completely bullshit. And
Okay.
I don't believe that. And he taught me so much about religion as a whole. And it was great. It was a great experience, along with learning world civilization with Dr. Sam Shul Huda, who
Mhm.
who taught a lot about, world civilizations and people driving 300 Z's. But it taking these two classes together showed me how the Bible lined up with world civilization.
Okay.
It also challenged me to go, maybe everything that I've been taught about religion is not right, because this man is in a Catholic university teaching religion. And not only that, but he has decided to teach something that for a lot of places, and we were in Louisiana, of all places of the South, where religion is taught that this is not a good thing to be part of. Not saying that I feel that way.
I get
Whatever
you.
you choose to love, I'm down with it.
Yeah.
But that was everything. At that point, when I was 19, my mind was shook, and I adapted and was like, let's roll with it. He was a great instructor. He taught me so much and about the history of religion and just how selfish man was with picking, and how all these different religions started with theology. Um, and it kind of, looking along with the chronological history of it with the Bible, it really started to show me some stuff with God, because what he challenged us to do was go visit three different religions.
Like
Uh,
three different services.
Services, three
Okay.
different services. And I don't remember, there was, I don't know, these two young ladies, one of them name was Vita and one of them was Ebony.
Okay.
And we went to some church, and I don't know what it was, but like 5 minutes into that, I was like, look, we got to get the fuck up out of here. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I ain't used to none of this shit. But
Okay.
we got to get out of here. But it covered for what we went to in Catholic services and things like that. But he really challenged us to look at religion as what it was versus spirituality, what is God. And at the end of that class, that was theology one. At the end of that class, I had a whole new respect for life, because
Mm.
it also taught me to look at other religions like Islam and Buddhism and Hinduism, and where the beginnings of these went through, just all of these, and what really fits what my lifestyle vibes with. And
Okay.
so it might not be Christianity. Maybe I need to convert to something differently if I want to be a religious follower per se. But that totally changed me from what I had been taught my entire life as a Southern Black man growing up in a Methodist household,
Mm-hmm.
to going to a Catholic university and having everything that I knew challenged from the first day of school, and me going, I don't really vibe with what, the normal is anyway. So I like this challenge and I accept this, and this is let's roll with it. So, I hope I didn't offend anybody when they're like, wait, he's not down with it. It's like, no, it wasn't the case. It was just, that was how it played out in my life as a 19-year-old, shit, 20 years ago. So
Okay.
now I would say I'm more of like, if I was to gear towards a religion, 60% Buddhist, 40% Christian. Still believe in Christ, but I like the way Buddhism teaches you how to live life.
Okay. Okay. So I think the argument is the same. I feel that they can go together. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel that human get in the way of religion, which is what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel that there is greatness, and that there are foundations and great lessons and pillars
Mm-hmm.
to build your house, your spiritual house upon,
Mm-hmm.
in any religion. And I
Yeah.
feel that if you listen, as the Bible says, show yourself, you must study to show yourself approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that, I think through that studying and understanding nourishes and grows your spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that that is possible through any religion. Like he said, so let's define spirituality is defined as the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. It's something that is ecclesiastical and belongs to the church or uh, to the clergy. So I guess in essence they go together, but you can be religious. You can, because I feel you could be religious and not be spiritual. It's like
Mm-hmm.
anything. You can learn the words, you can learn these principles, you can learn these morals, but whether or not you're applying, it's the application that makes you spiritual.
Yeah,
It's
and
the
see,
true application that makes you spiritual. So for me, my foundation um, is in Christianity.
mm-hmm,
And that started, like you said, through the elders
mm-hmm,
uh, when I was very young.
mm-hmm,
But I've always kind of been torn a little
mm-hmm,
bit, I guess, because one side of my family belonged to this branch of
mm-hmm.
Christianity, and then another side belonged to this. And you get told this side is wrong, this side, but it's good and bad. You know, you see things and the hypocrisy and the love and this. So it's just like then you, like you said, then I end up at a Catholic school, and it's like okay, not just a Catholic school, but like you said in Louisiana. So a number of my friends from are Catholic. So it's
Yep.
like okay, but okay, we have the same ideas, the same desires, the same goals, dreams, prayer. You know what I mean? So then it's getting to know and seeing that, overall, we're all not that different. And like you said, so for me, religion brings me, it's a state of confusion that I don't like to be in, wondering if I'm doing if I'm maintaining all these rules,
Mm-hmm.
all these, am I getting all these? Then you look at a whole lot of people that are like they gun ho on it, and it's like, but you don't really appear to be that great of a person. So like so really for me, you said yours was in at Xavier. Honestly, I think my spirituality journey really took flight during COVID when I couldn't go to church
Mm-hmm.
and I had to really sit in myself and and you're faced with how am I making it through these times? Gonna how am I doing this? My prayer life changed. Of course, a whole lot of other things transpired, which has really, I mean, it's really nourished my spirituality. So
Mm-hmm.
so I'm more concerned in that. But I will say that through this spiritual journey and as I'm becoming more spiritual, there are a lot of lessons, like I said, in morals and things that I pull from that are from the religious aspect.
Now, first off, the definition of spirituality, I understand. To me, my definition of spirituality is I lean more towards the understanding that God exists
Yeah.
and there are a lot of things that are just basically inherent by nature that we know are right or wrong, and we should roll with that shit. Like, we know it's wrong to kill people. Come on, like, do we need a commandment to tell us that thou shalt not kill? Like, that's just not right. Like, now we do need some guidance. So I do feel like as some people need some guidance. Somebody turned their air conditioner on. Sorry about that. I do feel like we do need some guidance in life. And so that kind of sometimes where religions do play a part, but once again, the selfish nature of man, even within those religious groups, those religious sects, we have people who, run amok and do certain things. So it's important for you to establish what you really believe in. Is it God or is it a person? Because what I did learn from the theology class is every religion has a person.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Jesus in every religion, whether you
Mm-hmm.
want to call him Jesus or not. There's a Jesus. And if
Correct.
you look at their creation stories, they're all just a little bit different.
Just
40, 43,
just
40,
enough for you to check a different box.
just enough for you to check a different box. But see, I kind of felt like after taking that theology class, and I'm like, and then also have read the story The Odyssey by
Mm-hmm.
Homer, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing this is a story that was passed on from generation to generation until someone wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the greatest game of telephone that we've ever played across the entire globe of the world.
Well,
You
it's true.
know,
You don't know.
you
That's
don't
part.
know.
I mean you don't know for certain,
Here's
right?
a here's an
But
interesting one.
that's what faith is,
Here's an
right?
interesting one. I'm gonna pose this. And
Okay.
this is another thing that shaped my whole religious belief.
Okay.
College. I believe it. I can't state his name because he's a principal now
No,
in
don't say his
our
name. Don't. We're not gonna
conversation.
call no names.
But in our college days, inebriated and having a good time, there was a discussion going on about religion in my apartment. And this question was posed to me, and I had never heard this, and this made so much sense. The story of the Tower of Babel, however hell you want to pronounce it, in the Bible. If you don't know this story, everybody around the world got together and they shared knowledge to figure out how to build this tower to get to God because they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get to God, to get the knowledge of God. So they did it. They built it. They were on their way. They're heading up the tower. We're going to go talk to God. God was like, I don't think so. Blows up the tower, spreads the people across the earth, and tells them that they will speak different languages and they will never be able to put the tower back together because they will never speak the same language. This guy posed this question. He said, we just watched a documentary of a guy who can talk to wolves, legitimately lived for 4 years in a cave with wolves and can communicate with wolves. What language did God cause them to speak that they would not be able to put that tower back together? And we all just kind of sat in this circle and just with these dumbfounded deer in a head light looks on our face. And he says, religion. He said, we'll never all agree on the same thing with religion. He said, it wasn't a language, it's a belief pattern. He
Mm.
said, and what we might be interpreting as the word language, it's belief.
Hmm.
And since we'll all never agree on this, that, and the other, we'll never be able to get, build this tower again to get to God. And so I was like, that puts a whole other wrinkle in the religion situation. Like, geez, like, and this came after the theology class in New Orleans, and that was when I was really deeply diving into Buddhism, and I was like, wow, and that's in the Bible. That's right there. It's a story in the Old Testament. It tells you right there. You can go read it. And so it kind of really made me think. And we're not here to try to tell you whether to believe in one religion or not to believe in any religion or to send, 1999 to my, Zelle account if I give you the information in my DMs. But we appreciate that. But we'll bless you.
Yeah.
But
You'd be blessed tenfold.
we bless tenfold. We'll bless anything you send to us. I promise you. I pray all over it. But but and that's kind of funny because we walk into that, and there are people who use religion that way, and those are the kind of things that drew me away from religion because it's like, hey, it's 2:30 in the morning, and I know you're up and you dealing with this, and if you send me $14.95, I send you this prayer blanket that I prayed all over, and Jesus will make you better. It's like, hey, I got cancer and I'm dying. Like, ain't no prayer blanket gonna fix me.
Well,
Like,
here's the thing. I think that, like you said, when humans get involved, it can put a bad taste in your mouth for
mm-hmm,
anything.
mm-hmm,
You talk to enough people who have a bad outlook on parenting,
mm-hmm,
marriage,
mm-hmm,
work. You'll say
mm-hmm,
none of those work either.
mm-hmm,
So again, I go back to you have to have your own personal experience and block out the nonsense, because just like you said, there are a lot of people that use religion as a weapon. There are a
yep,
lot of people that use racism as a weapon. You can weaponize anything, right?
mm-hmm,
But in spirit, when I feel once you reach a level, and once you reach that level and you understand, or you at least begin a journey of introducing this ingredient of true spirituality, you can weed out those people and know that, yeah, they're there. And I guarantee you, you go deep enough and you look deep enough into well, we know Islam has its bad apples, right? Because that's the
Mm-hmm.
only, but they all have their bad apples. There's
Agreed.
not, because again, there's humans in every religion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why for me, spirituality is another level. There's religion, which to me are the rules. It's again to make me check a box,
Mm-hmm.
right? To get in this box, to say this. And it's a way, as you said, I feel as well, to divide and to keep people in a state of you wrong, I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Where spirituality is something that loses its ego. You lose your ego in it because you realize that you are tied to something, whatever you call it, that every decision you make, every thought that you make, what you do, what you say, who you are matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's deeper than just the rules. It's the application of the basicness of the rules, and you take on the form of in the life of that bigger being because you feel like you are directly connected to that. At
Yeah.
least for me.
No, yeah. And I think that's spirituality. Like you have to be directed to, or you have to be connected to something bigger than yourself. Something has
Right.
to be bigger than you directing the flow of life.
And so
Um,
and so with that, because I do check the box of, if I have to check a box of Christianity, as I'm as I am reading and studying the Bible, because I
mhm,
have this new level of spirituality, I interpret the Bible differently as well.
true.
And it's well, I shouldn't say deeper. I mean, I shouldn't say differently. I should say through spirituality, through life, through
Hmm.
age, the Bible takes on, I have a new perspective when I
Okay.
hear it. So that's why I say I believe that they are separate entities,
Hmm.
but through the purest form of what religion, spirituality is supposed to be, they can align. They can.
I think they can. Do I feel like any religions and spirituality
As a
align right
whole,
now?
as
No.
a whole, no.
Yeah.
Their intention, yes.
Yeah. But just as the selfish nature of man has grabbed a hold of the intention and
No.
probably made money
But
off
you
of it.
but you got to let go of I mean, you don't have to let go. You have to that's a fact. You have to factor that into to your hypothesis. You have to factor the human outline, the human risk of what humans and human ego brings into religion, right? Because if you just stated on, again, if you just stated on the fact that humans fuck up everything, we wouldn't
Hmm.
do nothing because
It's
humans
true.
fuck up everything, right?
We do
So,
all the time.
so you have to kind of set that aside and see what is it supposed to be doing? What is it supposed to mean to you? And again, that practice to me is spirituality.
Okay. I agree with that. So we can both agree to what spirituality is.
Okay.
And um legitimately, I don't feel like if I would not have stepped outside of what I was taught as a young man, I don't think I would have ever come to this conclusion with that
Yeah.
and been challenged. Because it's very easy religiously, and we've seen it as we've watched throughout our life, for people just to go with what they see religiously and just like, I believe this is like, and then when you challenge them to think about that, they get that, well, I don't know, but I don't want to talk to you about that. It's like, I know you haven't really thought about it.
Well, I feel because a lot of what we're taught religiously is so heavily intertwined with who we are as people.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you challenge a part of that, then you're challenging everything I know, I stand for, I believe in, and that is frightening.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, so like you say, there are people, as we know, in the church, in any church, that have been there forever and still no less foolish than the day they step foot. They have no more growth, no more anything. They've aged, but like I say all the time, life. life moves. So you're gonna get
Yeah.
older, you're gonna keep moving, but whether or not you're growing, that's something different.
And you said it very well. When your entire belief pattern of life is challenged, it can things can just drastically happen. And we've seen that in the United States when people's entire belief of what they were taught is one way is challenged and sometimes even proven to not be true.
Right.
Um, but faith in the spirituality, I think, over faith in the religion is the eventual takeaway that I got away from that. Like, I can believe in a religion all day long, but the one thing I found that was common across all of those grounds was God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you called him this, that, this, and the other, there was always one guy who was above everybody else, and he kind of controlled that thing. And so, um, what I did learn is who my faith should lie in,
That's yeah.
and it's God.
It's God.
You know,
That's what we call. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I call him
No.
God. You know,
Yeah.
same guy
Absolutely.
you talking about, probably anybody out there, but it's God.
It's God.
Yeah.
And
So
in that, me and my uncle were talking about this today. And in that, across the board, if it's in God, then it's in love. And so that should be across the board. And so then with just those two elements alone, it should take out a lot of the fuckery. But
the
but
what
it
what
doesn't.
what Amy
But
Winehouse say? What kind of fuckery is this? Like, but that's selfishness. That's the selfishness of man. When you
it's the
become a
it's the
selfish,
it's the ego of
yeah,
man.
yeah. It's funny. Guardians of the Galaxy too. Egos destroys what gets in the way of its personal desire.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm.
what's good for everybody. Egos destroys if you don't do what egos wants.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of I think sometimes it's not religions that destroy each other, it's the people who are
Mm-hmm.
part of those religions that choose to try to destroy one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we can't build this tower to get to God. But even if we did, He strike us down and spread us across the earth again. So
Well, and here's the other thing though. I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to convince those that do and don't, just others, to
mhm.
help build this tower,
Yeah,
that we don't focus inward and just work on building our own brick tower to
yeah,
get to him. Because if you individually, if you do your work, if I'm doing my work, that's building the tower.
exactly,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So we have to get out of the, but we spend so much time, we rather be concerned with you right, I mean, I'm right and you wrong, than actually doing the work for
Yeah,
ourselves. Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, I like that. Focus on your own tower.
That's it.
You know, and that's
In
in
the most humble way, in the most God and loving way, focus on your own tower.
and it's the truth because the answers to me, what I learned in this, and I'll wrap this up. That I'll begin to wrap this up. We can talk religion all day long, spirituality. Um, you know, the answers will lie within yourself. You know, nobody's going to be able to answer for you at the pearly gates. You know, for your actions, you're not going to be able to say, "Well, the preacher told me to do this." Well, preacher went to hell too, so you gonna go with him? You know, if that's your guy. So you have to lean on thine own understanding. You have to pick your own path. This is your life, and you have to figure out what works best for you. But what I will also say is accept the fact that other people have picked what works best for them.
Mm.
Respect them and allow them to live their life. And at the end of the day, you are not God. You do not get to make that judgment on who was right and who was wrong. Let him make that judgment. And like you said, build your own tower.
Let me say, okay, that brings me to, because we mentioned God, we've mentioned religion a lot through
Mhm,
this spiritual uh topic.
mhm.
What about people who are atheists or agnostic, right? Is that
Yeah. Well,
yeah?
to me,
Are they spiritual? Can they be
yes,
spiritual?
yes, because you can't believe something doesn't exist without the belief at one point that it did exist.
Okay.
And I tell people, atheists that all the time, like that's wrong. It's like, no, you can't believe something doesn't exist if you didn't think that it existed. If you never knew about God, you can say that it doesn't exist. You're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I've never heard of such a thing. But for you to be like, yeah, I know God and I used to be religious, but now I don't believe in God. It's like, but then if you ever talk to atheists and wonder and find out why they don't believe in God, it is usually because of a situation that made them to disbelieve in God.
Humans.
Yeah, humans. So it's like and it goes back to accountability, in the situation. It's like, okay, shit's fucked up. But nowhere, and maybe what you were taught to believe in God, that God was just supposed to be this genie is just like bling, everything is gonna go great. But like that's not the overall plan of life.
No.
If that was the
And
case, nobody would
it
ever die. So like you
well,
can't.
and in fact, I would argue that you don't you can't reach a level of excellence in spirituality without hardship.
100%.
Yeah.
It's part of life. Nobody's gonna live forever. Like people have to die. You have to know bad to understand good. Yin and yang is not just some cute little picture that they put up. Like it's part of life. Like a Buddhist principle is like life is as big as death, but most of us just focus on life. Like a baby's born is this huge celebration. We never think that that baby might die in 2 days. And then when the baby dies in 2 days, we're just like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that happened. It's like, that's life. Like nothing is guaranteed. Like we've made it to this, life after 40. That wasn't guaranteed to us. Like we got friends that are dead in the ground right now, and so, but we don't focus on that. We don't make a bigger deal of, someone, of death being a thing as we do life. And when it does hit us, it kind of shakes us.
Oh
And
yeah, that's a good topic too, because I always have yeah, the relationship that I see, like you said, that I see a lot of religious people have with death is very peculiar.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And you look at like the whole country of Mexico, and they Dia de los Muertos, and here we are like, it's something dead. They're like, yay, let's celebrate the life of people, like, and we can get on that because I completely hate funerals, and I'm all about. I ain't paying all that money. Like, get the hell out of here. 50,
Listen, okay.
5,500 to 55 grand to bury a thing. Like, what the fuck? Get your hell out of here. All that, let's just get
Yeah,
to the chicken.
I'm with
Um,
you. But that we'll say that'll be a topic because yeah, I
yeah.
think you and I are kind of on the same about that. So
Okay.
okay, going back to spiritual. Okay, so we've established. So okay, what level? First of all, no. How do you nourish then, and how do you nourish and present your spirituality?
Um, One of my nourishment comes from within.
Okay.
Um, Being in tune with what I choose to be my spirituality, what I choose to be my journey. I don't go to church. I don't like church. Getting
Okay.
me to go, if you get me to go to church, you've done a lot. You mean a lot to me. Like
Okay.
I'm not down with sitting in any building and listening to somebody else tell me how they feel about religion at all. Period. Um,
Okay.
However, I will put my Bluetooth in and listen to sports and watch TV while I'm there. But I'm just there because you wanted me in the building. I'm not there for any type of religious embodiment at all. My mom
Okay.
learned that the last time we went to church when me and my sister and dad were all watching football on my phone. Hey, ma. Um, but um, I think it comes from within. Like I meditate, and I get back to the Buddhist principles to me that help me live a peaceful life. I think I like that about Buddhism. It teaches you to kind of get to a peaceful point in life versus just like Christianity, which talks about a dude getting ate up by a whale. Um, and you have to
Well,
figure out that
listen. I'm not. I'm not going to I'm not here to try to convince you or anybody at all, but I will say that it sounds like you've had a lot of bad experiences, and you don't allow those bad experiences to halt your journey.
I
And
have
the way,
had.
and I listen, and I say that because of the way, like you said, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I will say that my experience, especially through the preacher that I most recently have had, is not just that. It's not just the senior 1999. It is a it's a little deeper than that. And like I said, that's the religious side. But where I am now, I don't go to church. I
Mhm.
watch it every now and then, and I listen to a lot of messages on like podcasts and different things like that. And I will say that they reflect each other. And so I'll hear a message, think about it, really like study it. How does it apply? Like, what does that mean for my life? To apply that, have my prayer. I do meditation, but I just, because I just don't want, like I said, one religion shouldn't get a bad rep over all the others. I think they're all good, and I think they're all terrible. You know what I mean? So it's really just, again, it's what you extract from it and what you take from it. But again, don't let the human in what you are familiar with, because we're usually harder on what we're very familiar with. Don't let the human in it sidetrack you from what
Yeah,
it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
I agree. There is this video I watched. It's called "A Poem for the Church," and um, it's very powerful. And I was going to play it on the show, but I don't want to get YouTube to tell us that we can't play that and ban
Okay.
the show. But the gentleman made a very good point in that video. He goes, a hospital is a place where people that are broken or hurt go for healing. He
Mm-hmm.
said, a church is a building that people that are broke or hurt go for healing as well. He
Mm-hmm.
said, if you were not broke or hurt or healing, why would you take up a hospital bed? He's like, and he goes, I challenge you, if you're dating someone, if you're looking to date and you feel like you're not someone who needs hurt or healing in a hospital, why would you go to the church to look for people to date? And it's not that it a whole dating thing, but just the whole, why would I go to church if I don't feel that I need to be healed? And I'm not trying to challenge why people go to church. I understand there's a lot of different reasons why people go to church. I'm just saying we're talking about spiritual journeys. I'm not trying to convince you to do one thing or another. You're on that screen and I'm on this screen. And but this poem made a lot of good sense to me because we are all different people, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And my spiritual journey, there are things that we have not talked about on this show, that I discovered about myself that are a lot different than other people, um, and so we're all not the same. And so there are some things like I don't feel like I need to be in a church because I don't feel like I need to be healed. I feel like I need to be out helping people understand how to find and get their own healing, whether it is going to a church or whether it is relying within yourself. But what I've learned from my spiritual journey, and thank God for my grandparents and, you know, the sacrifices they made to get a church in an area and buy land and build a church hand by hand, you know, so their family could have some type of religious understanding. My mother for taking me to church and all these other things. And then even then allow me to go to a religious university to understand all these other things and go on all these journeys. Like, you know, it taught me to really look at myself and how blessed I really am, you know, and listening to God and being a person who's always felt like I should follow God and hear God. Um, a lot of times when I think a lot of people are broken, and I'm not saying this is bad for you, not you, but anybody listening, they do tend to lean on religion. They do tend to go to church more than they went before, you know. Um, but I tend to lean on myself, and I tend to talk straight to God about my problems. Um, and it works for me. But that's what works for me. It is
Yeah.
not what works for you.
No,
Oops.
it won't. Well, it kind of does. For me, I feel we all need healing. I
Mm-hmm.
feel at every point we need healing. There's different levels to healing. Some may need gunshot wound healings, some may need paper cut healings, but we all need healing because life be lifing. So
Yeah.
every day, every day you can be shook or pushed and so I don't necessarily, it is a hospital and it is a place to go for healing, but I would argue too it's also as important as picking a mate. Every church, every religion, like you said, is not for you. It's not for everybody. That's the style of preaching, the style of service. And I think sometimes when we get bad tastes, it's because we go to one place and we get that bad taste and we stay in that miserable situation forever, and we just keep allowing until we fed up, and now we hate all, just like you hate all men or all women, now you hate all churches, so it's like when you see that place, okay, they about that shit, this doesn't work for me, I don't like this style, I don't like this. So it's about finding what fits for you. But like you said, for me, like you said, and you do, why not, you go to, when you want to be hungry, you go get some meat. When you want, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there are places to go for situations. Like you said, I'm not trying to convince you or anybody else. I just I'm careful about giving it all a bad rap because there are bad seeds. That's all.
Yes. Yeah. And I would never tell anyone that your religion is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no correct answer to any of those. I can only tell you what works for me,
Yeah.
and
But you're right. Going directly to the source. But like you said, I think you have to be, you have to be taught that too.
mm-hmm,
Because I don't know that you just, especially when you're in the world and it's life is life, and if you don't have some sort of compass or some sort of guide or direction, like you said, you can say, just like you said, the atheist, you don't need that now,
mm-hmm,
but you've had some sort of understanding of what you've been introduced
yeah,
to God.
yeah,
I think if there's no introduction, if there's no, then you don't know where to go. So a lot of times, like you said, in a good place,
mm-hmm,
hopefully that is there to serve, that's following not just the bot, but like it's doing the work for people who do get lost, for people who do need that fill up, for people who do need that hug, for people who do need that introduction.
yeah,
I think it can serve that purpose. But like you said, you can't say if you were never introduced in a good or bad way, would you
yeah,
know where to go? And like you
yeah,
said, once you do get to a level and you realize that God is always with you, you are God, that it's always here, you may not need it as much, like you said, because you can lean on essentially yourself, but lean on God at any time. But if you've never had that introduction, then you don't know. So the
yeah,
hope is that you have the right humans introducing you.
100%. And if you don't, I hope you run across the right humans to introduce you.
Absolutely.
And no matter what you pick your lifestyle to be, um, I always say that's your relationship with God.
Yes, that's it,
It's
and that's all that matters.
it's not mine. Let's just have fun and party. That's my motto. So you pick your religious thing. I don't really care. Like I don't.
No, I don't
If
care.
if
I
if
like I said, I don't care. I don't care what box you check. Show me how you show up for that.
yeah,
Show me how
how
that looks.
how do you treat a person? How do you treat people? How do you treat life? How do you treat human beings? That's what
And
counts to me.
that's what counts. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
counts.
Man, that's a real conversation. Look, I'm glad that we differ, but I'm glad that in general we still
It's love. It's
are
all
from the
love.
same.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's love, and love is one thing that no matter what religious belief you have, which was created by man, because that's religion. They all decided I want to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying which one was the original. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
1981. That's when I came out. I was here, so they was already there.
Yeah,
But
1981 AD.
AD, yeah, that's when I was here. Don't get it twisted. I wasn't hanging out with Jesus, so I don't know nothing about that. But whatever you believe, do you believe with your whole heart? Be a good person
A good
and
servant.
a good servant to where whoever it is, even if it's just to other people, just do what's good in your heart, and I think you will be okay. And that's my message on this. And I've really enjoyed being able to talk a little bit about religion and spirituality. So now I know, we can talk about death next time. That'd be an interesting topic. People are like, y'all gonna talk about death? It's like, yeah, death.
Death.
It's coming for you. You know.
Death. Hey, it's guaranteed. It's the only way out.
Yeah. Was it? There's a song called "Shoes for Running," and there's a line that says, "Death is coming, I would race you, but there's no running, it'll catch you." Like, look, you ain't gonna get away from it. It's coming. But how you handle death, and literally, let's talk about the funerals too, because I really got a problem with these funerals. And maybe we'll even talk about like how funerals used to be, because like it's very interesting about Egyptian culture and like mummifications, and like I always wondered like how services go. I think I have a friend that's actually a mortician. I have two friends that are morticians, and they might be interested in coming on the show and talking to us about some stuff. So that might be fun. Yeah, look,
It
one
might
of
be
them was
fun. Okay.
yeah, one of them was my cousin. So you ain't got no choice. If I call you, you're coming on the show. So
Well, the last funeral I went to, the preacher said something. He said, "Since we know we're all going to die, why why don't we live some along the lines like living your life backwards from that? Like if you know there, if you be conscious that there's an end, you should live your life like that because we're
knowing
not.
there's an end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
knowing it's an end. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hey, look, I agree. That's kind of like Buddhism. You know you're gonna go. So what they say, live every day like it's your last. And that's what I think we do. And I like this show because I think we did this show. And if this was my last show, I'm glad this was a good one to do.
It's
With,
all love. Wait,
I'm glad
now
you can do that. Can I do?
my heart ugly.
Yeah, I was like,
You
this is
got
like a heart. That's why I'm single. Anyway, we'll catch y'all next. We're gonna do it every week, bi-weekly. We're coming back. 2023. We're stretching it out.
Happy New Year, because this
Happy
is
New
the
Year.
first. Is that Happy New
It's the
Year?
first
See y'all
show.
in a
Yeah.
minute.
We'll talk about death when we get back. We'll be back. Bye.
Bye.